It is a great honor for me to address this important gathering at a time when our societies seem to be in confusion and chaos, where Africa is once again called upon to defend herself, her sovereignty, her family, and the values. Allow me at this juncture to convey to you, the audience, greetings and best wishes from His Excellency General Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan. South Sudan is a nation born out of a long struggle for self-determination, for dignity, freedom, and the right to preserve its culture. Our very existence is a testimony to the importance of sovereignty, not just in borders, but in identity, in culture, and values. The theme of this conference, Towards an African Charter on Family, Sovereignty, and Values, resonates deeply with us in the Republic of South Sudan. Our families are the bedrock of our communities, and our values are the compass that guide our future. We recognize that sovereignty is not only about political independence, but also about the ability to define who we are as Africans, and in how we educate our children, how we nourish our people, how we care for our elders and the vulnerable in our society, and how we protect the dignity of life at all stages. The road to our liberation in South Sudan context was not an easy one. It required many hard collective and individual sacrifices to be made, oftentimes at the expense of family structures. I myself can attest the difficulties of raising a family in the midst of an ideological and physical war. I therefore want to take this opportunity to highlight the importance of peace and security, which was mentioned earlier by the previous speakers, in our region to allow a solid, healthy African families to grow and solidify our cultures together. When there is chaos, there is always opportunity of exploitation. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we must remain vigilant. The creeping imposition of foreign ideologies, often under the guise of aid or development, threatens to erode the very essence of our societies. Policies that weaken the family unit, that challenge our traditional moral values, or that attempts to redefine our cultural norms without our consent are not acts of solidarity. They are acts of colonization by other means. At this juncture, let me take a moment to commend our gracious host, the Republic of Uganda, for its bold and unwavering stance in defending African value. We applaud the passage of the Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023 as a clear affirmation of the sovereignty of the Uganda people. I extend my deep respect to His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, for his courageous leadership in spearheading this process, and to the Parliament of Uganda, under the leadership of our able sister, Right Honorable Anita Among, for its principled resolve in pushing through legislation that aligns with what we as Africans have always known to be the foundation of a family, a union between a man and a woman, grounded in procreation, stability, and the nurturing of the next generation. In South Sudan, as a post-conflict society, which has experienced mass displacement, some aspects of our family life have been disrupted. Citizens have traveled far and wide and returned with various and sometimes conflicting mindsets to what we know. Some cultural practices and communal bonds have been weakened or removed altogether. These challenges threaten to dilute our cultural identities. I do believe that the charter being developed by this forum will help to play a significant role in helping to recenter our values to those we have had outside influences. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, Africa is not a blank state. as it was stated before, that it needs its history to be rewritten. We are a continent with rich with wisdom, with systems of kinship, with community-centered values, and with deeply rooted spiritual traditions. South Sudan, as an example, with its 64 tribes and countless cultural practices, has long benefited from customary forms of governance within families and clans, highlighting how kinship and collective responsibility uphold social order. Collective decision-making and family sovereignty, therefore, go hand in hand. We take all of this into account. When we take all this into account, the call to action is clear. We must rise as legislators not only to pass laws, but to protect the very essence of our nations, that is, the family. My distinguished brothers and sisters, let us acknowledge that the practice of dowry, which is common in most African countries, remains an important cultural value and norms in many of our societies. We must, however, also confront the reality that at times it has been misused to justify things such as forced and early marriages of our girls. We are seeing it increasingly that most young people are not getting married because of the high dowry that are requested in some of our societies. This should be reviewed, as this prevents young people from getting married, and some young people cannot afford certain dowries. In this modern era, we must align our customs with values that protect the dignity of our daughters. A marriage must be a union of mutual consent, mutual respect and choice, not a transaction. We must preserve the spirit of dowry, as I said, and the dowry should be reasonable and enabling to our young men to get married. And it should be considered as only a gesture of appreciation, not really something that we can benefit from our young children or selling our girls. So we should reject any form of coercion or commodification of young girls that has resulted in forced and early marriages of our young girls. Child marriage is equally not a tradition we should protect. It is a health and human right issue that disproportionately affect the girl child. While some argue that young girls are mature enough to run a home, we must ask ourselves, at what cost and what age? Early marriage robs girls of their education, their health, and their future. We must instead teach our societies that educating a girl does not diminish her value as a future wife. It enhances it. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our collective cultures which Africans' family structure rests upon, both the nucleus and extended, are among the most beautiful cultural aspects globally. Common values actualized through concepts like Ubuntu. You are because I am, and I am because you are, should be honored and celebrated as they highlight the solidarity that binds generations together. However, we must also reflect critically on the dependency culture that was introduced and cemented by the colonial system. Traditionally, each member of the family had a role and a responsibility. And this was clearly stated earlier by His Excellency the President, that the family must also be productive. We must return to this ethic of contribution and encourage economic empowerment within families. And this was also alluded to by the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank. So they are not only, families are not there to express unification or unity emotionally, but also self-sufficient and resilient. Financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and local resource mobilization must become key pillars of a modern African family life. Let this conference be a turning point. Let us draft a charter that reflects our collective vision, one that upholds the sanctity of life, calls for peace and security, respect for the centrality of family, the authority of our cultures, and the right of each African country to determine its own path without coercion. South Sudan therefore supports the initiative of developing an African charter and stands ready to contribute to these efforts of formalizing family sovereignty and values as a continental framework. This framework will definitely articulate our collective commitment, rights, and responsibilities regarding family life. Such charter should also consolidate the sovereignty of families to govern themselves according to African cultural values, cultural norms and values, and provide guidance and policy direction that strengthen family resilience and cohesion. Each must also promote education about our rich cultural heritage and also ensure that legislative and policy frameworks support the preservation of our indigenous family values. Let this be a moment Africa unites to say our families matter, our cultures matter, our sovereignty matter. Thank you all. Thank you all for listening. A special thank you to our host, the Republic of Uganda. That's the Parliament, the National Parliament, that has diligently worked to bring us together to engage in such critical and important discussions. It's my prayer that this conference marks a new chapter in our shared continental journey to protect our family sovereignty and values. We thank the organizers for the hospitality and for the warm reception we received from you since the time of our arrival. God bless Africa. God bless Uganda. God bless the Republic of South Sudan.